Howdy healers, welcome to Zero to KSM Hero, a series where I'll be attempting the Keystone Master Challenge in patch 9.1.5 on a brand new healer. The rules are simple. For the Alliance, least favored healer, least popular covenant, only moderate help from main character allowed, no linking raid or IO to main character, hugging only, and finally the challenge must be finished before posting the first video to avoid any external help or assistance, and of course for the sake of integrity. Hello again everyone, and welcome back to another episode. So, in today's episode, we're gonna hit up some more Mythic Plus dungeons, which is the name of the game. So the first step in hitting up Mythic Plus dungeons is, as always, to stare at the group finder and chew your nails if you can do that, and worry about what you're going to apply to and if you're good enough to apply for stuff. Or maybe that's just me. Anyway, I am looking for something that's going to move my score up. So, I do look at some Mythic Zeros when I see them, but then I'm always, reminding myself, you don't get any score from it. You might get gear, but you don't get score. And score is, if I was struggling with gear at this point and I'd done, 5 dungeons and I hadn't gotten anything, then we would be looking at maybe, okay, maybe I need to do something about that. But for now, it's alright, I'm doing okay on gear. I just need to look at joining a group that is a high enough level of key that it will get me some score. And it doesn't have to be a lot of score, but at this point, anything is better than nothing. So, looking at this +2 Halls of Atonement, I can do this, but, my eye level isn't particularly high, and I'm this is a guy who doesn't have any score either. Is he gonna invite me if I apply? Is it worth my time? Should I do it? And it's well, maybe you don't really lose anything from applying except your time if the group fails. So it's nothing to worry about too much. So I'm just gonna keep looking here. I'm just gonna keep looking. And there's a dungeon sitting right there in front of my face that I should just apply to, you know what I'm saying? And it's this one right here. It's a 4. They've been looking for a healer. They want a healer. The worst that's gonna happen is that a better healer applies at the same time as me or earlier and they get in. But they're clearly not picky because I got basically an instant invite to this group. So we're gonna go join our pals over at the dungeon. Bam! The magic of editing. Alright, so here we are in the other side. A dungeon I'm also kind of scared of, to be honest. And it's pretty funny, because I feel like I'm scared of about half of the dungeons that are in the rotation. So that's cool, that's great for me. We love to see it. I use a flask because... because I'm scared. And this is only a +4, but I feel it's it's higher than a +2. Maybe I should just use a flask for it. Plus, I took alchemy so that I would get a 2-hour duration on the flask. I don't know, just in case. Maybe not just for this dungeon, but, assuming, obviously, that we are okay here. You know what I mean? Then I'll have it maybe for the next dungeon, too. A 2-for-1 special, if you will. So we're all ready here. We're getting prepped to do this. And we get a countdown and everything.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now begins one of the scarier dungeons in my mind. But will it be that bad? Let's find out. Alright, so we have a Brewmaster monk who is getting Mystic Touch on the mobs for me. I don't think that Ring of Peace really helped our tank very much, but I tried. He's taking a lot of damage, but he's doing okay. He's doing okay. Everybody's taking a lot of damage, but I'm not panicking. I'm just trying to get everybody topped off again. because it's not so much for me about priority healing or triage healing. In my mind, it's like in one global, any of these people could just straight up die. So, oh, here we go. I got seated right on the first pull. Love that for me. Now, I know I said I was going to keep like a tally of the times that getting seated saved the group a wipe, but this isn't really one of those cases where I feel like the DPS pretty much had things under control in that pool, at least to the extent that like if I would have died there, it wouldn't have been a complete wipe or anything. So this wasn't a time where getting seated saved the group, but it is embarrassing. Everybody can see that you cheat death there. But the reason I took it was so that I wouldn't die. So if you think about it that way, where if I hadn't taken Dreamweaver as a soulbind and I wasn't Night Fae, I wouldn't have a cheat death at all, and I would have probably just died there instead. Yeah, so at least I didn't die. We'll take that as a win for now. Alright, so these pulls can be a little rough here, and again, can never tell when I'm actually helping with Ring of Peace versus just like making it more annoying on the tank, because it's not like the tank is with me on Discord telling me like, hey, that was helpful, or actually that was super annoying. But okay, so two of the DPS got flung off the cliff by that frontal cone, so that was cool. But they released and they're gonna run back, so I'm not worried about it. The key holder is alive, the tank is alive, and I'm alive, so we press on. Alright, but you can tell I'm a little low on mana here, so I'm trying to catch up to the tank, at least to the best of my ability, so that in the next room I can sit and drink a little bit. It looks like the mage is a bit embarrassed that they got flung off a cliff, but it do be like that sometimes. Like, just because even if you're normally like a really good player, it doesn't mean that every day that you're gonna be doing your best, so it's fine. It's a quick run back. We barely got anywhere. So we do wait for our group, and then we keep forward, which is just the right amount of time for me to get all my mana back, because I'm wasteful, of course, and we press forward. As I was saying, like, when it comes to stuff like Ring of Peace, not having a tank on Discord with you to tell you if something is helpful or not. Because, like, sometimes people get annoyed when you push the mobs away from them and now they're not hitting them. But at the same time, at least in my own mind, I look at it like I'm trying to help. I wouldn't put down Ring of Peace if I didn't think it would help. And sometimes obviously when I do it, it's not particularly helpful because of one reason or another. Usually my placement is off by like a quarter of an inch or something like that, and it just doesn't do a lot of good. I put the mob, like, I send them the wrong direction or whatever. But the intention is there as more of a way for the tank to have a chance to breathe a little bit, where, you know, if the mobs are hitting him particularly hard and I push the mobs away from him, he has a few seconds where he's maybe not getting hit and can recover or reset a cooldown or whatever. So, I mean, I'm not super familiar with it, but if I feel like the tank's getting absolutely chunked, I will try to throw a Ring of Peace out to help him. You can see these spirits are dangerous, and now they're on me. They do a lot of damage, and I don't have a way to get rid of them, so I mostly just run through them. Knowing my mana's low, I immediately drink. Like, as soon as I have a second, I'm drinking. And the reason is because you don't want to wait until everybody waits for you. That's not the way to do it. Now, I don't know what the tank's plan is here. I should have kept on the stun. I should have went ahead and stunned them. But I messed up. I thought, oh god, there's a group after this. Maybe he wants to stun that group. But the reality is that it doesn't really matter when you use the urn, but it is a huge waste if you don't use it at all. We're trying to save our group. We're trying. Druid died. Mostly because he was out of range and I couldn't reach him anyway. Alright, sitting to drink again. My hope is that the tank is going to pull those mobs back around the corner so that I can use the urn on them. But I realize that they may not know that I'm Night Fae, so they clearly don't have any intention of running back here, except maybe slightly by accident. And now I'm kind of thinking, well, why didn't I just say something in the chat? But they might be assuming they don't have a Night Fae because nobody clicked the urn on the last group. They're not quite in range here, so I can't even get them. I do try, though. Like, to my credit, I tried. And I'm realizing it's like a waste of my time to even like think about it, because obviously they have no intention of pulling the mobs back at this point. Again, probably thinking they don't have a Night Fae in the group. And now I have this stupid spirit in my way. Alright, we get through. Now to the first boss. We actually combat, I drink. Again, just judging by the first pull of the dungeon, which can oftentimes be an indicator of how things are gonna go. People did take a lot of damage, so I just want to make sure I'm topped off, like, just in case anybody eats a mechanic. I'm not gonna have to panic about being able to heal through it. I think at this point I'm actually just not that... I don't really know the fight that well. Like, I know it, but like I don't know any cool tricks or anything to the fight. I just know not to like stand in the red circles and bad stuff on the ground, and to run from the boss ads when possible. But it's like proof that at a key level like this, like, you don't have to know every single in and out of it, because like he still died, right? Because he'll still die. No, get your red circle off of me. There we go. Now, I don't sit and drink after the boss fight, even though obviously I could use some mana, because the run back is so long that it feels like there's no point in stopping to drink, because by the time we get to the next pack of mobs, I'll probably have all my mana back. And these tunnels are amazing for Night Fae, like, honestly, just using Soul Shape to get caught up to the rest of the group. Easy clap. Alright. Time for this mob that everybody hates. The damage he does can be really intense, so the best course of action is to stun him and hope that the DPS damage him down fast enough that he dies before he can do any like real damage to the group. And here we have everybody's in range but the Boomkin, which was like... It's not always a problem, but like as a DPS, something to always remember is that you don't want to be too far from your healer, if for no other reason than the fact that if they have to move to heal you, that if you get hit by anything really hard hitting, they might not be able to save you before you die. Because the act of having to move first, that's if they even know where you're standing exactly, because sometimes in the chaos of a fight, like, I don't know where everybody's standing. Of course, this is a dungeon where neither the tank nor I are marked with a marker, so if people like really needed to find us, they maybe can't always tell where we're standing.
It's too far away.
Alright, so we have our tank, so these two mobs can enrage, and I don't have the spells available, so I'm not, and obviously I wasn't paying that much attention, so I don't know if the druid is soothing them or not when they enrage. So our paladin, oh my goodness, Palchuk, their name throws me. The brewmaster is trying to kite them so that, because they hit so hard that he doesn't want to die. So I would cast Tiger's Lust on the tank to try to keep him ahead of the mobs that enrage. Alright, I don't really need a drink, but I sit anyway to get a sip, because why not? And this is a beautiful group where everybody line of sight's haywire. Crackling Jade Lightning needs a buff, actually, in my opinion. Because it doesn't do, like, any damage. The dental drills aren't very scary on their own, in my opinion, but that's just because you can line of sight the cast. These guys can be a little scary. And you can see there the druid typhooned those away so that they would explode away from the group. So that was like a big gamer play there. I think after seeing this, I'll start trying to Ring of Peace that, but it gets confusing too because you don't want to throw the good mobs after it, because your melee DPS, if they're tunneling on damage, may very well just follow the mobs without thinking about why you're knocking them back. So you gotta be a little careful there. I mean, obviously then it's the melee DPS's fault, not yours, but, you know, if they die, then it still makes the run harder for you. Alright, so these guys can do a lot of damage too when they do that spinning up ability. So you gotta just hope that your melee are smart enough to like get away from them when they do it.
I need to get closer.
Alright, we have another dental drill coming up.
I need a target.
Crackling Jade Lightning here for the win. I would never, in a pug, I would never want, unless the tank's got an immunity, I would never want them to sit out there and eat that cast, because it does a lot of damage, and I'm a coward. I don't want to try to heal through. Like, I could heal me and one other person through the haywire probably, but I can't heal a group of 5 through haywire. Alright, these lubricators can be a little sketchy at high key levels, but right now they're not so bad. And this is where doing a dungeon that you're scared of on a lower difficulty is going to be the smart move, because this showed me like, oh, okay, so like the first pull was pretty rough in this dungeon, but this part, which is the part that I'm kind of scared of, isn't really so bad. Alright, I get seated again because I suck. I think it's because I keep trying to jump across instead of running through, and I'm not sure if this is correct or not, but at this point, I kind of think that I thought that if I landed in the middle between the slimes at all, that I would like die from the sludge in the canal, not just the sludges themselves. But I don't really think that's the actual case, and that I could have just ran across. However, I do learn at some point that the lubricators, when they do their lubricate, they prevent you from jumping. So if you were jumping across and you got halfway across, and then the lubricator started his lubricate cast, then you'll get like slammed to the ground because you can't jump during the lubricate, and that will mess you all up, which I didn't really realize till somebody pointed that out to me. So that, you know, we're always learning here. This is where the cheat death seed comes in handy. I would guess no matter what healer you're playing right now, if you're playing a healer and you have the seed, it's an easy way to not look like a complete idiot. I mean, don't get me wrong, I look like an idiot here. Like an absolute fool. I seeded twice in this dungeon. Basically is like one right after the other in terms of the cooldown. So I feel pretty stupid about it, but at least I didn't just straight up die, right? I mean, when the alternative is death, then the wild seed's starting to look pretty good. Alright, so coming up, we have everybody's favorite part of the other side. This thing, where you got the oil that comes spewing out of the, I don't know, out of the pipes or whatever these are, and you have to run across and not make a fool of yourself. Now, I would argue that we have all gotten hit by that at one point or another, and every single time it feels like crap. But our group manages to get through with nobody getting blasted off of the edge of the cliff, so we're good. We're good.
Has sent debt collectors already, but I haven't had his mojo long enough to create my masterpiece.
Now, Millhouse and Millie Manastorm are interesting. This is an interesting fight. I don't mind this fight, but I do mind having people in the fight that don't know it. Like, obviously, the higher the difficulty, the worse it's gonna be. Like, there we had people that got the laser that didn't do it right, but I think they know they're not doing it right, so they move closer to, like, be able to do it correctly. So the goal of this is to position the laser so that it hits him, and you don't want to stand in that. You don't want to stand in that. Don't be like me. Don't stand in that. So anyway, this fight is interesting in that you're supposed to use the boss mechanics that they use to hurt you on each other. So the guy with the circle around him is supposed to stand on the boss, and the higher the difficulty gets, the more important doing that is. Getting the bombs is supposed to be my job, but like, everybody else keeps grabbing them, so I'm fine with that. At least they're trying to help. You can stand on the boss and try to get the bombs right away, but in my experience, it gets harder and harder to do that, like, the more melee DPS you have, because like you just end up clicking on them instead of the bomb. We actually just got lucky there that like he got hit by, you know, or that she got hit by it, because my goodness, this fight will feel really bad if nobody knows mechanics. Luckily, DPS is pretty okay, so we're doing pretty good. Cause like even the tank's DPS is pretty high here.
You're the best, Billy. Let's never fight again.
Now, of course, like knowing what I know now, if I realize that people in my group don't know the mechanic, like I'm noticing people don't know the mechanic, what I'm gonna do is make sure that I pop a cooldown when damage is about to get bad, because there will be no way to heal through it otherwise. But this level of key is just low enough that it's not that big of a deal yet. Alright, so while I wait for people, I take a bit of a drink. Not a full drink, but a bit of one. And then we head for the next mob. The tank came up here, I'm assuming because they wanted to make sure that we had enough space to stand. And here we have an issue where, again, the Balanced Druid is not in line of sight or even close enough for me to heal. So he does come closer, because I think he realizes that he's either he's not able to hit the boss anymore, or he realizes he's out of line of sight. So, mob dead. I keep mousing over them because I'm not used to doing Mythic Plus yet, and I keep thinking that they're lootable, so just pretend you didn't see that. The death speaker in this pack does a frontal cone ability, the one that took 2 of our DPS out in the first pull. So you want to kind of keep an eye out for that and try to avoid it. And I'll be honest with you, it is hard to see sometimes. I noticed that this bone soldier was coming for me, and I just said forget it and paralyzed him, honestly, because it would be easier than trying to run to the tank. Mostly because the tank's already taking a lot of damage, and I'll be honest, like, I should have just took it to the tank, or even ran past the tank and then, like, you know, broke the CC on it. But there comes a point where I was just kind of afraid of what would happen if I messed up. Alright, you can see the frontal there, that's what it looks like. In a mess of mobs, it's a lot harder to see. So you can see where DPS might miss seeing it if they're not looking out for it. Like if they don't know it's being cast. Alright, so realizing that our warrior ran ahead, I went ahead and Touch of Death that. I also realized that there's an urn right there that I could have like ran over and used, but again, we're learning here. We're trying to learn. I learn a lot from, like, each dungeon I do. I feel like I learn something every time I go in. Like, oh, I could do this different. Oh, I could do that different. And one of the things I learned here is, I should save Soul Shape until I'm actually in the room so that I can blink through more than once. Because nothing's more embarrassing than getting hit by that. Or even worse than that, I guess, would be dying there. Alright, so I'm already sitting here thinking to myself, my mana's low, I didn't get to drink, as soon as this pull is over, and the pull's about to get bigger, but as soon as this pull is over, I have to sit and drink. Like, I'm gonna need to. So, I was concerned. I thought they were gonna pull the stags into the group, but he ends up not doing that. I try to drink, but then I get nervous that everybody's so far ahead of me, and I decide not to finish drinking. Probably not my smartest moment. I could have gotten another, like, couple of seconds of drinking in, but you can see that the tank is well aware of what this group is capable of and isn't doing anything too crazy. Like, he didn't pull anything extra here that he could have pulled when it was close to him, because he must be paying attention and realizing that, like, I'm not really high on mana, and also it's bursting week, so like every time something dies, we get this stack of bursting, and it hurts. So this is where the tank prize should have like waited like 1 extra second, because this is spicy. Like this is a spicy pool, and they're going around the corner here where I may not be able to reach them. The urn needs to be clicked, but I'm out of mana. And I don't realize how bad it is, but I'm scared to click the urn because, like, I'm scared to take my eyes off of anybody for, like, a second. But I should have just clicked the urn because it's not that bad. It's actually cringe that I'm not clicking it right now. Like, I hate my past self for not just clicking the urn. You can see I used my gift of the Naru because I'm, like, I was worried. I'm like completely out of mana here. I have a trinket that I can use, which I clicked like a clicker. I'm smart enough to use revival, even though I had to click it because I couldn't remember the keybind. And honestly, okay, let's talk about keybinds for a second here. Even though my gameplay was completely cringe for like this whole moment because I never clicked the urn. The truly cringe thing is that I'm not a good player. However, worth noting is that I click abilities when I'm panicking. This is why I have to do a voiceover at the end. Like, I do a voiceover instead of recording everything as I'm going, specifically because when I'm panicking or when I'm like stressed out, I can't talk. I have to like buckle down and focus. And when I'm focused, I can't say anything. I have to focus exactly on what's happening in front of me, and I can't say anything. I can't commentate over it. Nothing. It's like I freeze up. It's I think it might be kind of normal. I don't really know. I know some like high-end players, like obviously like Growl can just I've seen him do it like in on his streams or whatever, where he'll be in the middle of like everybody's health bars bouncing from here to Kingdom Come, and he's just like calmly explaining what he's doing while he's doing it. I can't do that. I freeze up and I clam up. Because if I say anything while I'm trying, like if I try to hold a conversation while I'm trying to focus on healing, like I literally cannot do these two things at once. Is it embarrassing? Yes, actually, it is. But I've been that way as long as I can remember. I think it's the anxiety, probably. It's the same reason why when I'm driving somewhere and I don't really know where I'm going, like as I get closer to my destination, I have to turn the radio off so that I can see better. I know that sounds insane if you don't have that issue, but for those of you who do have that issue, I know that you get me. I know that you do. So, that's how I am in the game too. When I have to focus really hard on something, I can't talk. So I have to do a voiceover later. And that's how we got to this point, right? And I think honestly, it makes for a more interesting experience because if I was doing everything and just posting like the live commentary, you would end up at a point where like I would go 20 minutes in a dungeon without saying anything, probably in a row, except for the sound of me like heavy breathing as I panic or whatever. And that's not really fun. It's kind of boring. But at least now, like while I'm talking and watching this, like I'm getting to watch it back too. So I'm seeing my mistakes and I'm seeing all the cringy things that I do. And it's really funny to me because like obviously the fact that I'm looking at it now and the fact that not only am I looking at it, but I am noticing the mistakes that I'm making and I know the solution to not do that it means that I've learned, right? It means that I've gotten better. It means that I've improved. So hopefully in my doing this, if you're watching this and you've, I don't know, like never played a Mistweaver or whatever, maybe you're learning at the same time as like I was learning in the game. And maybe you could even learn faster because I'm explaining things like as I find them. At least I'm trying to explain things as I find them. So I don't know how useful it is, but I guess we'll find out, right? my opinion about The Other Side is that it's a good dungeon. Like, as far as, like, layout and aesthetics and theme and all that other stuff go, it's a really fun dungeon. My only issue with The Other Side as a dungeon is that it's so stinking long. We're talking like a 40-minute dungeon. And when you're looking at others like Halls of Atonement, it kind of feels like this one's just excessive. So it's one of the reasons I don't like running it. Because if you get a garbage group, like, you're stuck in here even longer than you are on, like, a regular dungeon. But honestly, this is a pretty decent group. Yeah, they stood in some stuff, and things were bad, but it could be worse. At least we've already checked off, you know, people flying off the cliff, right? So this boss does this thing where you have to, before he does his cast, you have to step on the thing to shoot you in the air. If you're in the air when the cast goes off, you do less damage to your party. Or in the case of me, I did like no damage to myself. So I try to wait until it's about to go off before I jump in, because as it turns out, it doesn't really shoot you that far in the air, and my timing tends to be garbage. So the last thing I want to do is step on it too early and then practically be back on the ground before the cast goes off. So I definitely take the longest amount of time to jump into the trap, which is still more than I can say for some of my group who just didn't go at all. So I let them play with the lightning over there, you know, so I don't have to worry about it. And you can see the key holder is doing his part here. He's doing mechanics. It's his key. He probably wants to time it. And we get pretty lucky here because I'm almost out of mana, and we killed the boss like before I did run out.
I need to get closer.
Now we just have one boss to go. So the ultimate cringe moment on this final boss is, of course, to, like, not make it to a portal. He summons 4 portals, and everybody should basically be picking a different one. Tank and healer usually go together, and then a separate portal for each of the 3 DPS. The cringiest thing is to not make it to a portal. If you don't make it to a portal in time, you die. It's embarrassing. So the ultimate cringe moment that I had was on my hunter, actually. After I had done Mythic Plus, I went in on my hunter on like a heroic or something. And I thought it was Mythic and that there would be 4 portals. So I was waiting for one of the back portals to spawn, and then it didn't, and I died. And I looked like an absolute clown. So that was fun. But here, I know there's 4 portals. I'm just kind of waiting to see if anybody's going to claim portals, or, you know, like, what's going to happen here. And, okay, so we have one person made a claim immediately. And then, and I don't like it when people do it during the fight, because, like, as you can see, the chat moves pretty fast. But as a healer, you're usually going to be going with the tank. So if you just pay attention to where the tank goes, that's all that matters. Alright, so the biggest thing here, and this is just my opinion, but the biggest thing here is to try to keep everybody in the group topped off before Shatter Reality, because when they have to take their own portal and they're reliant on themselves, then things get kind of spicy. Alright, so he pulls back the fist of the hand on the side he's gonna do, so you kind of know where is safe to stand. I mean, my group isn't great at it, but there are worse. Alright, this green thing in the middle means Shatter Reality, so me and the tank run over here. I don't wait, I just take the portal immediately. It's always better to be safe than sorry. And I start doing damage, because that's kind of what you gotta do here. The tank blasted, so, like, then you click the totem.
Don't you be counting me out yet, old Lua.
And you wait.
I'd better to pay attention.
I mean, or you're like, oh, look at that, I got a compliment. I got a compliment from my fellow monk. How nice of them. Because I have been actually, like, playing very cringe this dungeon. Alright. We're back at it again, boys. Alright, again, paying attention to position. He's in the front, now he's doing the right side. Now he's doing the left. The order that he does it in can be, like, whatever, but you know if he's already done the right, that the next one he does is either going to be right in front of him or the left, so you kind of know where it's safe to stand. Alright, my group's... I'm starting to fall apart here. I'm getting behind on my healing. Feeling a little stupid. I stand in bad. I was starting to panic a little. I don't really know what to do, so I literally just take whatever portal, you know what I mean? Alright, so the DPS warrior knew what was up. We'll take it. And I just mostly heal him, right? And prepare to click. Because he's a good DPSer, like, I don't have to worry about it. Unfortunately, our poor tank didn't hit the portal, like, they just barely missed it or whatever and died. But it's all good. It's all good in the hood. Boss is gonna die because we got the last of the dudes. And I'm kind of preparing, like, if the boss lives too long, I'm going to have to heal the DPS warrior through damage, but it's down immediately. So, that's good. I was just relieved, honestly, that I wasn't the one that died. Because I wasn't real confident. Me scrolling up to see my compliment. I'm looking for my compliment here. You play Monk amazing. Look at that. It's beautiful. Thank you for the kind compliment. Of course, I'm blind and I didn't see it, so I have to scroll. I have to find it. I have to find the compliment. I need it. It's like gonna feed me for a week. I did get a memory though. And then we have somebody asking if anybody needs the gear that they got. Of course, they're the only cloth person in the group, so nobody needs the pants. But look at that. They told me amazing job. Amazing job. Amazing job. All right, now listen. I'll be honest. I'm gonna be real here. I'm gonna be brutally honest. The tank was pretty good. In fact, I would say that this tank was a good tank. The DPS were okay. The warrior was the best DPS by far. And it wasn't just his damage on the final fight that says that. It's the fact that he wasn't dying to mechanics, and he, in general, wasn't taking a lot of, like, avoidable damage through the whole dungeon. That said, I didn't play that well in this dungeon. Like, go back, rewatch it again if you want to, just mute it or whatever so you don't have to listen to my bullshit. And just watch what I do and watch what happens, and where I'm wasting mana, where I'm not contributing to damage, where I don't click the stupid urn even though it would have saved me a huge headache to just spend a couple seconds, like, clicking the damn thing. And that's, like, more than once that I fail to click an urn. It's, like, 3 times in one dungeon, okay? So I just consider that, if you will, for a moment. Just think about the fact that I didn't play that well. And yet, you play Monk amazing was a compliment that I received from the tank in this group. And they even, at the end of the dungeon, decided to tell me that I did an amazing job. Excuse me? Excuse me? Me? An amazing job? No, I didn't actually do an amazing job. But at the time, that made me feel so good. Like, I'm not even lying. I, like, went to work and I told my coworker, like, I got told that I did an amazing job in a dungeon last night. So much for the toxicity in the group finder. I'm just finding mostly nice people in there. Or people that don't say anything, but both of these are better than toxicity. So, like, again, I didn't play that well. Like, I want to reiterate this like 50 times to people watching this because I feel like so many people run into toxic groups or bad people or whatever, or they might be scared to start healing in a dungeon. They might be afraid of making mistakes. I made so many mistakes in this dungeon. The urns, the overhealing, the mana wasting, not sitting to drink fast enough, getting seated twice, embarrassing myself multiple times, not using my cooldowns. Like, did Yulon's even get used once in this dungeon? I don't know. I don't remember using it. And yet, despite all of that, despite it, nobody noticed. They were busy thinking, except for the parts where they died and it couldn't be prevented really, they thought, hey, we're doing pretty good, and I got a compliment. So, like, you don't have to play perfect. You don't have to be perfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to take this time to learn. The key is that you should be learning from your mistakes. So if you do what I did and you record your runs and you watch it back later and you're like, okay, where could I have improved? The moment that you look at it and you watch it and you see, hey, these are some areas I could improve in, that's where you know that you have already improved. That you can see where your problems are and you can see where to do better next time. Boom, you've already improved. You've already seen improvement. That's amazing. That's awesome. It means you're learning. You're not dumb. You don't suck. Everybody starts somewhere. It's going to take some time to get to like a skill level where you're a god, but nobody started at the top. They all had to work their way through and learn and then apply what they'd learned in practice, which of course is the hardest part because sometimes it can be easy to see where your flaws are. But like my main hobby is writing, and I knew when I got to the point where I read something old of mine that I had written and I knew where it could be better, and then I could, like, looking at an old piece of writing and being like, all right, this doesn't look right. That shows a level of learning. I know that that is wrong. And then there's another level of learning where not only do I know it's wrong, but I know how to fix it. And then the third level of learning is applying the fix. So there's always learning to happen, like there's always learning that needs to happen, but like if you're looking at something that you did, or you're even looking at somebody else's video of what they did, like you've learned a lot, you know things. The key is just applying them. And yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. This dungeon was a great one. We could first compliment in the chat off of the bingo card. This was not a flawless group, but it was a nice one, a fun one. Nobody made anybody feel bad about their mistakes. Everybody was chill. This is the average experience. Maybe not the compliment part. That's not, something I see a lot of in dungeons, but it's definitely, just the general chillness of the group was my average experience in Mythic Plus. So don't be afraid to give it a shot. Alright, so now it's time to jump into the next one. I took care of some things. I got some food because I realized it's kind of silly not to have food. Especially just a cheap food for these dungeons, because it's not like it's that big of a deal. I mean, if I lose the buff, I don't have to sit and get the buff back, but just to start things off with a little extra help, there's no harm in it. So, I decided I'm going to run my own key again, since the Spires wasn't a travesty or anything. It didn't disappoint me too much. Let's just go ahead and run our own. Plus, I need an HOA anyway. So I look at the people that apply, and, I'm trying not to be super picky because, like, what's the point on being super picky? So we have a hunter. That means we have heroism if we need it. And I invite another hunter because why not? Hunters are easy, right? Hunters are simple. So we have 2 hunters and a Windwalker monk in our group. At least we would have a Windwalker monk if he hadn't come into my group and said that. And I was just kind of stunned, like, what?
I'm out of range.
Like, really? That's what you're gonna do? You're gonna come into my group and you're gonna say that? Like, the only reason I invited him was because Windwalker Monk, Mystic Touch, thought it would be kind of nice. His gear level wasn't that great, and again, remember the rules here. You kind of want to be like the least geared person in the group. So he was kind of hitting just like barely better geared than me, and so he was on thin ice anyway. So I don't know why he came in and said that. Like, maybe it's some kind of joke that I don't get, but either way, I booted him. Like, I don't want this person in my group. After my last group was so, like, smooth and good, I was like, I don't need any trouble in this one. So, I went ahead and ignored the guy, too, because, you know, why not? And then we wait for, like, a single DPS, and it feels like we're waiting for a while just to get 1 DPS. But here's what happens with needing 1 DPS. This is just my experience, but what ends up happening is that people think, oh, they probably got like 200 applicants already. Like, I'm not gonna bother. But in reality, I had like 0. So the first person that applied ended up getting in. And who doesn't love a mage, right? So here we are, starting out on a good foot. The mage is asking if we are alts. And it's one of those questions where I'm like, I mean, yes. But being an alt doesn't really mean anything, because if I was worried about my score being, like, reflective of my main score, right, I would have them linked on Raider.io. Like, the only reason not to do that is specifically to hide. So, I just admitted that I'm an altaholic, but not that I actually have a main with a high score. So, I'm just being honest here. And we summon our mage friend. And then it's off to the races for more fun in games. Again, through the magic of editing, you get to skip a little bit, anyway. Not a lot, but a little bit. And everything is going great here. We got a tank promising not to pull too stupid, the mage admitting that this is actually his main, and he asked if we were alts because probably felt a little inadequate, and now I feel a little bit better. So the mage wasn't checking to make sure we were all alts, he just wanted to make sure that we knew that this wasn't an alt, that it was his main. So our first pull of the dungeon is the one that is the biggest test of, I don't know, probably how things are gonna go. This is not always the case, but it can be. So, we have nobody dispelling the curse to start off with, which is fine, because this is a pretty big pool, so I guess I would just rather people, you know, do damage and get these mobs down, like, sooner rather than later. But we do have time warp for this first pull, so that should make it better. But the bear is enraged, and our tank is doing his best. The bursting isn't too crazy. It's like bursting can be a little scary, but here it's not too bad. I'm trying a little bit to conserve some mana by soothing mists, but you can still see where my logic is just a little bit flawed, and I should probably just be a little more conservative when it comes to using mana. So our tank isn't stopping. Like, we are going to be timing this. They are very much hoping that we will be timing this. So they kind of line of sight everything back here, And this is a big pool. I'm not really used to this. I haven't healed through anything too crazy. And now we have this problem where some of the DPS are in line of sight and some are not. And I need to dispel that hunter like immediately, but he's not even in line of sight. So I'm running to find him. Now everybody's got bursting, so I've already, like, as soon as it's out of sight, out of mind, right? So, like, my brain isn't working. It's a little hectic, it's a little scary here. I'm starting to panic. The reality is that I have plenty of cooldowns to use. I'm not, there we go. I used revival, that's something. I was a little worried. I'm like, God, do I not use a cooldown here? Like, wow, I'm worse than I thought I was. But no, I do use a cooldown there, but it's a little more hectic than I would like. Especially because our last hunter there is like really low on the damage meters compared to everybody else. So again, I am going to get some mana back just because I saw how hectic the last pull was, and I know this one's going to be a little hectic too. I should have just popped a defensive there, but I didn't. However, I do make sure that I'm topped off, because if I'm not topped off and I die, then everybody else is definitely gonna die, because there's just too much damage going out here. Alright, the shard's almost dead. I'm sitting here already trying to plan my next move, which is to sit and drink, but the bursting pulls me up again. And I sit and drink a little bit. It doesn't hurt to sit and drink here anyway, because, like, I have to wait a little bit to see, like, what let the tank get aggro and everything. But, like, you could see me at the top there. What I was trying to do is get things, like, I was gonna heal from the top, because it's a little safer, but I messed up and was not gonna be healing from the top. And here, everything is going to shit, like, immediately because the bears are enraged. So I'm just using pure throughput to heal here. And I finally remember that I have Ring of Peace and use it.
I need more mana.
And I talk in the chat. Like, like, I have, and this is where bursting keeps pulling me up, like, but it's a spammable food. Like, I have plenty of food. I just need time to sit and eat it. Okay. And yeah, bursting sure is something. This is, I think, oh, like, finally I used Yulon, but here's the truth. I don't know how it works. I don't know how she works at this point. And I probably, like, didn't utilize her even, like, a little bit because I didn't really know how she worked. It's better to pop a cooldown than to just not do anything, so we'll take it. Even if it didn't really do much, but what can you do? Alright, we got another big pull here, which I'm clearly not ready for, and I cocoon myself because I'm scared. You can see how fast I'm able to get these people back up to maximum health. But it can feel like a lot, especially when bursting starts rolling in and stacks up. And like nobody took the gargoyle for some reason. We just killed it. So that's cool. That's fine. It's normal. You never know what you're going to get in these random groups. It's better to be prepared for anything. I Phalanx Stomp and it does absolutely no good and only hits one mob. Which is extra bad. Like, me not doing damage in this group is extra bad because Mystic's Touch increases, like, physical damage done. And we have Hunters in the group and Hunters are doing physical damage. So I would be increasing not only the Prot Paladin's damage, but also both of our Hunters' damage. And I am, like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not doing my part here. Alright, so I try to get a couple drinks before they pull the boss, but if you are not in the boss's circle, you get feared out for, like, the whole fight. So I run to stand in the circle. And it's fine. This shouldn't take that much mana to heal this boss. I'm standing at the back here because what I want to do is the boss occasionally throws junk on ranged, and I want to bait them back here so that the tank can move the boss to the middle of the floor. But, you know, as you can see, that's not happening. I'm not getting, like, any debris thrown on me, which is really sad for me. And at this point, like, the tank's better off just pulling them right into, like, the middle, literally anywhere. But of course, we get the refraction, and now we're all gonna have to stand in bad. No, we're not. I just panicked. So, that's where you never know what's gonna happen there. But sometimes the beams do turn the other way, and sometimes they don't. And that's what makes it fun, but I totally thought they were going to keep going because I thought I knew the timing, but I didn't. That was my bad. And here we have my favorite part. This is a part where you either kill all the mobs here or you skip them, and most groups do skip them. However, this is only a +5, so I was, like, really praying that we weren't going to skip just because it's only a +5. And we pull extra because, you know, it's like that sometimes. But we're just going to try to deal with it the best that we can, which is probably not going to be very good, but it'll be something. We have some hard hitters in the group here. Halls of Atonement is actually one of my favorite dungeons, so I'm not that worried about it. We got a couple interrupts here. That's better than you sometimes get in these dungeons. I'll take it. I stood in a cleave because I'm dumb. Don't stand in front of that mob. I'm trying very hard to stay with the group because I want to make it through, but the mage invises and goes through. However, me and the two hunters they must not have camo, and I don't. What I should have done is just use an invis pot here, but the hunters actually end up pulling like literally everything, but the tank seemed ready for that, so we're just gonna fight it all. And I'm gonna try to remember to stay far away from these guys. But again, what I should be doing is getting some damage on these so that Mystic Touch is applied. It's not much, but it's something. And it helps 3 of the 5 people in the group. Alright, bursting pulls me out of my food again. You'll think I'll learn my lesson, but, like, I probably never will, actually. I'm just... if I was gonna have one habit or the other, I would rather at least get, like, a second of drinking than nothing. So, on this boss, you want to get to the boss with these ads, if you can, right away. So that they can be cleaved down. And this is where Feline Stomp was actually useful. The person who got the leap did get dispelled. They did get the curse dispelled on them, but they did not stand on the gargoyles to perma-kill them. But that's okay. Like, we got good DPS. I'm not that worried about it. The move here should have been for me to stand back to bait the blood puddle out on the edge somewhere, but that didn't happen. We did get a turtle there. We have a lot of guys alive now, and I keep standing in bad.
Your fate is carved in stone. Death cannot be.
Okay. So, this marker means the tank wants us to stand outside because he's going to line of sight them around the corner. I'm trying to contribute to DPS here. It's where I'm realizing that, like, not a lot of damage is going out right now. We can maybe, like, kill a dog or whatever and not have to worry. So we got one bear that got huge, but that's not so bad. And we live. Essence Font is like a mediocre healing ability in my opinion, but I use it a lot because it does, especially like the higher your mastery gets or whatever, it seems like it does a lot more healing, so I do use it a lot, and I don't always use it to the full duration because like the point is just to get the little hot on people. But if I'm not really doing anything else or we're just going between packs, like, and I just want to kind of top everybody off, at a certain point it's like, well, I might as well. Alright, so here we have to just run through here without pulling shit that we don't need. And of course, you know, you can only do your best. I'm of the opinion that, you know, everybody just get up here and pull the boss. If you can't kill, or if you can't get both Stoneborns, you can at least get one. But we do get both of them. I was just worried that, like, we were just gonna stand there for 300 years, so... Am I paranoid? Yes. Yes, I am paranoid. You do a couple of bad groups and you're just like, well, I don't know. So, if you get the fixation, you need to stand behind the lantern so that the ghost dies in the lantern. Boom. Easy. I tend to just put myself behind the next lantern.
You must face your punishment.
But you can see, like, not a lot of damage is going out here, so I could have definitely contributed a lot more to damage on this fight.
Their pain shall enlighten you. My flock needs me.
Alright, so I want to get through here and start drinking. Again, I think on our Mythic Zero here, I kind of went over how this room works, but the boss can heal up with these ads if you don't kill, or the mini-boss, rather, can heal up with these ads if you don't kill him fast enough, and I usually give it one shot. If we don't get him killed the first go, then we're not capable of it, right?
I'm out of range.
At that point, you're better off just killing all the ads in the next room. And we didn't even get him to like a quarter health before he just healed to full. So I'm already sitting here thinking like, all right, we should just kill the ads. We should just kill the ads. But like we're just gonna stand here probably. Some groups never do just go kill the ads. They just stand here and let the ads come to them. If you got a lot of time left, it's not necessarily the worst tactic, but it's definitely faster to just go kill all the yellow neutral mobs in the previous room. But like clearly we don't have the DPS to get through this, and it's because we have like the one hunter that's like pretty lower, or like way lower than the rest of the group, and it just be like that. Yay, using barrage on one mob. The hunter binding shotted, so I should have. Yeah, okay, so here's the funny part. Yeah, I'm calling out the fact that they're AoEing there instead of single target doing damage, and like on that mini boss, if you want to take him down, you should be focusing single target damage. So all of the barrages and the like multi-shots and stuff like are great, but like whatever's gonna kill the mini boss the fastest is what you need, because the ads won't keep coming. Like, yeah, you look good on the damage meters by doing multi-shot or, you know, blizzard or whatever, but it's not actually helping. Like, you're not actually doing anything. You're not playing correctly. Like, okay, cool. I can look good on meters too, but it doesn't mean that, like, I'm playing correctly. Like, I can go into a raid and snipe everybody else's heals, but it doesn't make me a good healer, even though I'll be looking good on the healing meters. So, it's a team effort, in other words. So, we give up, we come and kill the ads. And the name of the game is that, like, I think probably from this point forward, it's gonna be just killing the ads as soon as we come in the room, because nobody's gonna assume that our damage is good enough to just push through. And you can see how long that this one mini-boss has taken us. Specifically because we tried to kill him in one shot. We didn't, but then we waited 3 or 4 more times and then came and killed the ads. If it doesn't work the first time, come down and kill the ads. Just do it. It's well worth your time. Well worth it. In my opinion. In my humble opinion. It's well worth it. Alright, so, I mean, we're not in danger of not timing it. Like, clearly we're gonna time it. But we wasted, like, 3 minutes or longer just on that mini-boss. When it could have been half that time. Or less. Alright. We're finally on this boss. Now, all we gotta do is not get hit by statues, use a cooldown when we get to the soak, and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Easy. Easy clap. This dungeon is so easy. Or at least it can be. Alright, he's pulling the guys to him. I'm gonna try to soak. Placement's all over the place because people are panicking. I revival because I don't really want to take the chance that somebody might die. The DPS here is pretty good. I should have just popped a personal cooldown here so that, you know, even if it was just Gift of the Naru, like it would have helped, right? But the damage really isn't that bad. Boss is dying. I got a 5 completed. I got, you know, a decent chunk of score for having done that. 95. And I get a staff. And then the tank apologizes for only +2ing the key, but if I would have invited, like, you know, way over gear DPS, we would have +3'd it. It's not that big of a deal. And I just kind of admit, like, alright, I'm new at this, so, you know. If I +3'd it, now I'm putting myself in, like, an even higher dungeon than I might be ready for, so I'll take the +2. It puts me in a 7. So, alright, so even though I got a staff, the mage asked if I want his, the offhand that he got, and I do want it, and my reason is because I have a main hand that I got from the vault that I couldn't use without buying an offhand, but the offhand that I bought was a really low eye level. Now, I could just take this staff and use the staff, but honestly, I prefer main and offhand for Mistweaver anyway, just because usually it's like a little more stats or something. So I took it and immediately equipped it and got rid of that garbage 163. So, yay! Somebody offered loot at the end of the dungeon, and people could use it. So, like, the mage in the last group offered at the end of the dungeon too, but there weren't any cloth wearers, and he was offering pants. So, like, his offering didn't really do any good. I mean, it was nice of him to ask, but his offering doesn't really do any good when nobody in the dungeon can use the gear. But in this case, we had a couple options for people that could probably use it, so that was awesome. I got an upgrade. I'll take it. It puts me at 205 eye level at any rate, so, you know, we're improving. We're getting up there. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks, the other side, for being such a long dungeon. Anyway, if you guys think that I might need to have a bit of a heavier hand with the editing, just let me know and I'll see what I can do. I hope y'all stick around for the next video. We're gonna just keep back at the grind, try to knock out a couple more mythic pluses, get that score up, get our skill level up, hopefully a little bit. Until next time though, take care of yourselves and happy healing!